Matt Dumba is a Pittsburgh Penguin. The Toronto Blue Jays, for the first time since way back in 1993, are leading the American League East at the All-Star break. The All-Star break makes history. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Scott McGregor. Welcome to Sports for Beginners. Welcome to Sports for Beginners. This is the show where I cover the Pittsburgh Penguins, Toronto Blue Jays, and take you on a journey through the world of sports. From the fans' perspective, here is your host, Scott McGregor. Let's have some fun. The 95th annual Midsummer Classic, preferably known as the MLB All-Star Game, was making some headlines after Tuesday night. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Sports for Beginners. My name is Scott McGregor. Thank you so much for joining us. This is episode 20 of our 4th season. So glad to have you with us, wherever you may be, at whatever time you may be tuning in. We're going to lead things off with, first of all, our lineup. And to start things off, we are going to talk about the All-Star Game, the 95th annual All-Star Game, which made some headlines after Tuesday night. In the middle segment of our show, we are going to talk all things Pittsburgh Penguins, specifically Penguins accusations, players that they have acquired as of late, including Matt Dumba. At the halfway mark of our show, we are going to flip the calendar back to baseball and discuss my thoughts, as well as your thoughts, Blue Jay fans, on the first half of the 2025 162 game season. And at last call, we will provide you with what will be happening on the next episode of Sports for Beginners, as well as right before that, in what we like to call Last Call, a look at the second half of the season for 2025, as far as early August to mid-August. This means we will continue from where we are in the month of July and go early August to mid-August. So we won't quite get to September before the show is up. With that said, let us jump right in. For the first time in MLB history, the Midsummer Classic was won in unprecedented territory. Some might call it history. Well, history it was. The National League, or NL for short, won this All-Star Game in Atlanta on Tuesday night by an unprecedented home run derby swing-off. But wait a minute, wasn't the home run derby in Atlanta at the home of the Braves on a Monday night? Why is it happening again on Tuesday night? Well, it didn't exactly happen on Tuesday night, but at the time this happened as a decision in the top of the 10th inning of the ball game, both the American League and the National League had 6 runs. Who would get run number 7? Well, that run belongs to none other than the National League after key stars who took part in this swing off, the first of its kind, by the way, took 3 swings. That's right, 6-man, 3 from each side, American League and National League. We'll talk about who they were. 3 swings they were allowed. The team with the most home runs would ultimately be determined as the All-Star Game winner. So who took part? Let's go to who took part. Yeah, sorry, Blue Jay fans. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Captain Kirk, Alejandro Kirk, unfortunately, they did not take part in this event. Players who did take part for the American League East, I should say for the American League East would be a whole team made up of American League East players, including Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Alejandro Kirk, Aaron Judge, you name it. The three men taking part come from the A's in Brent Rooker, Randy Arozarena from the Seattle Mariners, and from the Tampa Bay Rays, Jonathan Aranda, that is Brent Rooker, Randy Arozarena, picking up the bat for the Mariners, and picking up the bat for the Tampa Bay Rays, Jonathan Aranda. Meanwhile, on the NL side, from the New York Mets picking up a bat, even though he did not get an opportunity to hit. They call him the Polar Bear. We're going to call him his real name, Pete Alonso. From the Philadelphia Phillies, one of the two men for the National League that took part in this home run derby tiebreaker style swing off. Give it up for Kyle Schwarber. And from the Miami Marlins, put your hands together for Kyle Stowers. Kyle Stowers of the Miami Marlins, Kyle Schwarber from the Philadelphia Phillies, and Pete Alonso from the New York Mets. Jonathan Aranda, I should say, from the Tampa Bay Rays. Pete Alonso, you see, had opted to not play for his third home run derby crown in the event a night earlier, but did raise his hand for the swing off. He did not need to bat because the NL had prevailed prior to his turn. Manager of the American League New York Yankees, Aaron Boone, said, I gotta say, it was pretty exciting. Like, all of the sudden, here we go. And the camaraderie that you kind of build these last couple of days with the team, I think, went into overdrive there. Kyle Schwarber of the Philadelphia Phillies was named the player of the game and the most valuable player of the game, the MVP. And he said, per the quote that we have here, it was awesome. The guys really were into it. They were yelling, screaming, cheering me on every swing. When that last one goes over, they were all pumped. It was a lot of fun. Wow. I mean, I have never seen, in watching baseball for as long as I have never seen a swing-off determine an All-Star Game winner. The National League defeated the American League 7-6, but officially the final score was a 6-6 tie between the National League and the American League. Now, had this had actually gone into the 10th inning, is there going to be a runner on second base like there is right now in regular season games? Well, turns out there was no need because they decided, let's do something that nobody has ever seen. The skippers of the American League and the National League were skippers of the New York Yankees and the Los Angeles Dodgers. The Dodgers skipper is Dave Roberts, and the New York Yankees skipper, I mentioned him already, Aaron Boone. They made the picks for which three men would be allowed three swings in this swing-off style tiebreaker. But I should mention, teams would alternate. And again, the team with the most home runs, or HRs for short, would be declared the winner of this year's home run derby. It was nice to make a little history. I was actually able to catch that swing off. I did not catch the ball game. I also did not catch the home run derby on Monday, but we could talk about that, and we could talk about the home run derby and who actually did compete in the home run derby on another episode of Sports for Beginners. Right now, I want to take a quick break. When we come back, after a quick word from our friends over at Broadcast Map and our friends over at Sienna T Radio, making your day brighter one song at a time. We're going to go to the hockey rink and talk Penguins on a little segment I like to call Time for some Penguins hockey talk. So what has Kyle Dubas been up to since Mike Sullivan was dropped from the team, brought into the team? What's Kyle been up to? Find out next. Don't go anywhere. There's more great conversations and content right around the corner. Sports for Beginners will be right back in a moment.
I wonder if I could make it. It's almost getting to 8 o'clock p.m., and I am still a few more steps away from home to get to my computer to listen to CNT Radio's Cosmopolitan Culture Club. The best of the best music from around the world. Can't wait. I think I made it. CNT Radio, making your day brighter, one song at a time.
CNT Radio will never give you up. They will never let you down, nor will they run around or desert you. So join Nick Astley for The Melting Pot every Saturday on CNT Radio. Hang on a minute. He's not Nick Astley. Oh, jings, I've done it wrong. Anyway, just join Nick for The Melting Pot on CNT Radio.
Now, let's take you back to the action. To the rink and field we go. We find Scott McGregor.
Thank you very much, Nick, and thank you very much, Ali, for your contributions to our show. Remember, you can catch Nick on The Melting Pot every Saturday, only on CNT Radio, making your day brighter, one song at a time. He is the host of The Melting Pot, which is every Saturday morning from 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time, only on CNT Radio. And of course, Ali's got his own shows. He's got Broadcast Map. He's now got a show with Makara called Ali and Makara's Books. Hope you will check that out. All right, taking a breather from the baseball. We'll get back to baseball when we talk Blue Jays, coming up in a segment time. The schedule was released on Wednesday, and right before that, the Penguins made some moves. So who did the Penguins acquire, and who has left the team since then? Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages in Pittsburgh, the Pittsburgh Penguins have made the following movements. First, one of the most recent trades the Penguins have made, besides trading Alex Nedeljkovic, which we'll talk about another time. On July the 10th, the Penguins announced that they were trading Vladislav Kolyachonok to the Dallas Stars in exchange for Matthew Dumba. And in this deal, Penguins would also receive a second-round pick in the 2028 NHL draft. Dumba had 10 points, including a goal and 9 assists, and averaged 15 minutes and 18 seconds of ice time in 63 games with the Dallas Stars last season. The 30-year-old defenseman did not play during Dallas' run to the Western Conference Final. He has one season remaining on a 2-year, $7.5 million contract, worth an annual average value of $3.75 million. He signed with the Stars, I should say, on July the 1st, 2024, Canada Day, 2024. Dumba has 258 points, which includes 174 assists, 84 goals, in just 737 regular season games with the Stars, Tampa Bay Lightning, Arizona Coyotes, and the Minnesota Wild. He was selected by the Wild in the first round, 7th overall in the 2012 NHL Draft. 24. Vladislav Kolyachonok had 7 points, including 5 assists, 2 goals, and averaged 13 minutes and 1 second of ice time in 35 games with the Penguins and Utah Mammoth last season. At this time, before Kolyachonok was brought to Pittsburgh, he was with the team originally known last season as the Utah Hockey Club. They were not the Utah Mammoth at this time. They were known as the Utah Hockey Club, which included 2 assists in 12 games with the Penguins after being claimed off waivers on February 9th of this year. Now, Vladislav Kolyachonok also has 1 season remaining on a 2-year contract he signed with Utah on June 25th, 2024. He was selected by the Florida Panthers, in the second round of the 2019 NHL Draft, 52 overall, and has 14 points, which include 4 goals, 10 assists in 74 games with the Penguins, Mammoth, and Coyotes. So he has been on 3 NHL teams prior to the Stars: the Penguins, the Mammoth, and the Coyotes. He has been in the NHL for a while. All right. Another recent trade the Penguins made sent this man, Chase Stillman, to the Vancouver Canucks. On Sunday, was traded to the Pittsburgh Penguins by the Vancouver Canucks on Sunday for Chase Stillman and a 4th-round pick in the 2020. The 24-year-old goalie is in his final season of a 2-year contract he signed with Vancouver on July 16th, 2024. He was named the most valuable player of the 2025 Calder Cup playoffs after helping Abbotsford win its first American League Hockey Championship with a 3-2 victory against Charlotte in Game 6. AS was named one of Team Lativa's first 6 players for the Olympic Winter Games, Milano Cortina 2026. He is expected to compete with Tristan Jarry, Joel Blomqvist, and goalie prospect Sergey, Sergey, if I pronounced your last name wrong, Sergey Mershot. After the Penguins traded Alex Nedeljkovic to the San Jose Sharks on Canada Day of this year, July 1st, 2025, for a 3rd-round pick in the 2028, including helping Abbotsford win the Calder Cup. We wanted to give him an opportunity elsewhere, as we feel we are very well positioned in goal at the NHL, AHL, and developmental level. Acquiring a future pick and depth forward will add to our organization depth. All right, so a lot to pick up here. I also should mention some other trades that happened. The Penguins have received Connor Clifton and someone else as well. Gotta remember who that was. They have also picked up Alexandria Alexiev, and yeah, the team is changing. They've also picked up Anthony Mantha, among many Anthony Mantha. They've picked up a lot of people, and a lot of things are. Speaking of that, before we go, I mentioned the schedule was released Wednesday. So here are just 3 matchups from the Pittsburgh Penguins division that will kick off the 2025-2026 season. I mentioned Mike Sullivan earlier. Well, guess what? As part of a triple header on October 7th, 2025, will be facing their former team. Amuse is the 3rd head coach in Pittsburgh Penguins franchise history. After coaching the Penguins for 10 seasons, leading to, well, depends on how you look at it. You might have to look at Mike Sullivan and the Penguins' history as to who was head coach when the Penguins were winning their Stanley Cups, as they were. But that is a 8 p.m. Eastern start time. Mike Sullivan will return to Pittsburgh on the 11th of October after the Penguins host the New York Islanders on the 9th of October, which is the 2025-2026 Pittsburgh Penguins regular season home opener. And last but certainly not least, when is the Battle of Pennsylvania going to start this season? Well, it's going to start on the other side of Pennsylvania, not in Pittsburgh. It is going to start on October from Philadelphia. And the Pittsburgh Penguins will see the Philadelphia Flyers in October, December, January, and March. So the Battle of Pennsylvania will start in October, continue in December, roll on in January, and then, of course, it will conclude in Pittsburgh. Note the start time, unless it changes when the season gets going. Note the start time. 5:30 p.m. Eastern in Pittsburgh on March 7th, 2026. So the Battle of Pennsylvania begins on October 28th. It continues on December 1st with the second and final visit of the season for the Penguins to Philadelphia. And then it's time for Philadelphia to come to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. That begins on January 15th, start of the new year, in the middle of the start of the new year, which will be 2026. And then they wrap things up before we get to the month of April in early March, March 7th, in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So the New York Rangers will have 2 games to open up the season against the Pittsburgh Penguins, one on home ice, one against the Penguins in Pittsburgh, and then they won't see Pittsburgh until January and late February. All right, so lots for us to look into. I would go over the entire schedule, but we would be here all day. But one final part I will bring up. The Nashville Predators and the Pittsburgh Penguins are going to Sweden for an afternoon showdown Friday afternoon, November 14th at 2 p.m. Eastern. And then get up early because the puck drops at 9 a.m. on Sunday. That's right, you heard me. Get up early, Penguins, Predators fans. The puck drops at 9 a.m. Sunday morning on the eastern side of things. Get up early. If I was Paul Steigerwald and Brian Metzer and anybody that covers the Pittsburgh Penguins, I know they will do this because they cover this team unless they go on holidays, in which case I understand. But I believe they will be getting up very early to cover this hockey game. All right, so a global series, home and home, Nashville versus Pittsburgh, which basically would be the entire Nashville versus Pittsburgh series for the 2025-2026 season. Okay, so that's one Western Conference team in the books. When is everybody else playing us from the Western Conference? We'll touch on that closer to season time, maybe early September, late August. Speaking of August, when we return to Sports for Beginners, key takeaways from the first half of Toronto Blue Jays baseball in 2025. Spoiler alert, a lot of us have been comparing the 2025 Blue Jays to the 2015 Blue Jays. How aggressive will the Blue Jays be at the deadline on July 31st? Find out what I'm thinking about when it comes to that and my key takeaways from April all the way to early July. That's next when we return to Sports for Beginners. Stay with us. Don't go anywhere. There's more great conversations and content right around the corner. Sports for Beginners will be right back in a moment.
Take another look with Gerda Felix and Melanie Taddeo Malo, two powerful women of diverse backgrounds having genuine, unique, and uncomfortable conversations that everyone needs to have. Join Melanie and Gerda for conversations about what is missing from human connections.
Looking for a good hockey podcast that covers your favorite hockey teams and mine? Check out On the Ice and Behind the Benches, where we chat about our favorite hockey teams from puck drop to the last play of the action. To learn more, follow the On the Ice and Behind the Benches Facebook page. Search On the Ice and Behind the Benches.
Looking for conversations on the world of broadcasting, sports media, and from time to time, my favorite sports teams? Listen to Broadcast Map with me, Ali Musa. To learn more about the show and to view the upcoming schedule, like the Broadcast Map Facebook page. Search Broadcast Map. Now, let's take you back to the action. To the rink and field we go. We find Scott McGregor.
We talk some baseball, talking about the historic home run derby swing off in the American League, National League showdown at the MLB All-Star Game in 2025. I also mentioned before the break the upcoming July 31st, 2025 MLB trade deadline. We'll get to that momentarily. Perhaps we'll get to that in last call. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Sports for Beginners, the podcast. I am Scott McGregor. In case you missed it earlier, this is episode 20 of season 4. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. All right, let's go back to baseball. And normally, this would be a time when I would talk from the fans' perspective. Well, it kind of is. It kind of is. Remember how I mentioned early on the Blue Jays, for the 6th time in franchise history and the first since way back in 1993, were leading the American League East? That much is true, but the question is, how long will the Blue Jays continue to lead the American League East with a tough slate of games to start the All-Star break? Well, we'll touch on that question in last call. We will. Let's pump the brakes and go back to the beginning. The Blue Jays don't start off at home the way we want them to. Now, keep in mind, they also started the season at home, and they will finish the season at home. More on that momentarily. I like that the Blue Jays were able to win 2 out of the 4 games they beat the Baltimore Orioles in a 4-game series that opened up. Oh, by the way, during that stretch, they went 6-2, I should say. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sorry, 5-2. They went 5-2, sweeping the Nationals and dropping 2 of the 4 against Baltimore at home. They then proceeded to lose all 3 in New York against the Mets, and they quickly picked up 3 wins in a 4-game set against the Boston Red Sox, excuse me. I don't know what it is. I keep bringing up hockey clubs. Scott, focus. Anywho, the Boston Red Sox defeat the Blue Jays in the final game of that series in April. The rain boils in, and the game on April the 11th is postponed. And as we know, it will be a made-up game at the end of July, which is part of why that series is a 4-game series instead of a 3-game series. The other games that were in that 3-game set, minus the game on April the 11th that was postponed, or in short form PPD'd, it was a split. The Blue Jays took the game on Sunday 7-6. They lost the game on Saturday 5-4. They picked up 2 out of 3 wins over the Atlanta Braves in the homestand after that, lost 2 out of 3 to the Seattle Mariners, played a doubleheader after getting swept by Houston, and they took 2 out of 3 against Boston when the Boston Red Sox came to town. They lost 10-2 on April the 29th, beat the Red Sox 7-6 on April 30th, and on May 1st, they beat the Red Sox 4-2. Oh, by the way, even though the Blue Jays won the game on the 25th against the Yankees in April at 4-2, a final score, they lost the doubleheader games on Sunday because the game on Saturday was postponed, and they lost both of those games on the 20th. Speaking of losing games, they also lost 2 of 3 against the Guardians, but were able to win the opener of that 3-game series by a final score of 5-3. That, of course, would be the same final score on May 3rd, 2025, which was a Saturday. And then on Sunday, May the 4th, it was a 5-4 win for the Guardians. Of course, the Blue Jays would then go on to sweep Seattle in Seattle after losing 2 out of 3 to the Angels, winning the finale of that series against the Angels on the 8th of May, 8-5. They swept Seattle, winning both Friday and Saturday's games on May 9th and May 10th by final scores of 6-3. They actually won the game on May the 11th, 9-1. They then proceeded to lose to Tampa Bay, or 11-9. They would take the game on the 14th of May, 3-1, but lose 8-3 on the 15th. Take 1 out of 3 against Detroit, which would be the middle game of that 3-game set, 2-1 on Saturday. The Blue Jays swept the Padres with 2 shutout games, one 14-0, one 3-0, and of course a 7-6 win as well on the 22nd of May. Then it was loss against Tampa Bay. They took 2 out of 3 against Texas, swept the A's in Toronto with a 12-0 shutout among an 11-7 win, 8-7 win, and an 8-4 win as well. They would take 2 out of 3 against the Philadelphia Phillies after losing the opener on June the 3rd, 8-3. They almost swept Minnesota, but they lost the finale of the series against Minnesota in Minneapolis, 6-3. In June, they swept the Cardinals, got swept by Philly, then took 2 out of 3 against Arizona, 1 out of 3 against Chicago, the White Sox, not the Cubs. The Cubs are coming up later. We'll talk about that also later coming up. Blue Jays take 2 out of 3 against the Guardians in Cleveland and in Boston, and now we're into July. That was at the end of the month of June. So let's go to July. It all began with a 4-game sweep of the New York Yankees, which propelled the Blue Jays to what would eventually be a 10-game winning streak that sadly ended on July the 9th in a 2-1 final as the White Sox avoided the sweep in Chicago. They avoided the sweep of the Blue Jays in Chicago. But the Angels and the Yankees both got swept in a 7-game perfect homestand in which the Blue Jays went 7-0, not picking up a single loss. But my golly, the Yankees series was quite competitive. And I'm talking about Canada Day and July 2nd. I mean, look at these final scores. 12-5 on Canada Day, the Blue Jays beat the Yankees. A little bit closer on July 2nd, but the Blue Jays win that one 11-9. My goodness, did it ever get close on July 3rd? I think the closest game was Monday, June 30th, which was 5-4, by the way. The Blue Jays winning that game. And you had close one after close one after close one against the Angels. 4-3, the same score Friday and Saturday, July the 4th and July 5th. And of course, July 6th, you had a 3-2 win for the Blue Jays. That would lead to an 8-4 win in the opener of the last road trip of the first half of the season, followed by a 6-1 win for the Blue Jays as they had taken 2 out of 3 against Chicago. Chicago could have been swept, I should say. They could have been swept if the Blue Jays were able to win that game on July 9th, but they fell 2-1. Try to keep things rolling the best that they can with a 7-6 win against the Athletics. But the Athletics end up taking 2 out of 3 against the Blue Jays with a 4-3 win on Saturday and a 6-3 win on Sunday, leading to the All-Star break. And a couple of congratulations that are going to go out. First of all, congratulations to Vladimir Guerrero Jr. becoming the youngest Blue Jay with 1,000 career hits. Manager John Schneider saying that he told Vladdy 2,000. So he was praising Vladdy saying, hey, you hit 1,000. 1,000 more to go to get to 2,000 hits in your career. Another congratulations going to Max Scherzer. Max Scherzer picking up his first win as a Toronto Blue Jay. He also picked up career win number 527, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, in his career. So Max Scherzer has not looked himself since he became a Blue Jay. He's not looked himself. Let's just bring that up. But the game against the Athletics might prove different. I really don't know what this means for Max Scherzer, but make no mistake about it. He is a Hall of Famer in his own right. He is a Hall of Famer in his own right. He really is. Oh, and by the way, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., a very good key to note is that we need to get Vladdy going for this second half of the season. Who else is going to need to get going? Stay tuned. Last call is coming right up in 30 seconds. When we wrap this show up in 30 seconds, more Blue Jays talk on Last Call when Sports for Beginners continues in 30 seconds. Don't go anywhere. There's more great conversations and content right around the corner. Sports for Beginners will be right back in a moment. Looking for a sports podcast that covers sports weekly as well as gets you set up for the day? Check out Weekly in Sports with me, Scott McGregor. We give some shout-outs of the week to podcasts like this one and those who do them. Discuss the Blue Jays, Bills, Raptors, and more. To learn more, check out the Sports for Beginners Facebook page. Search Sports for Beginners.
Now, let's take you back to the action. To the rink and field we go. We find Scott McGregor.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Sports for Beginners, the podcast. This is episode 20 of season 4. Before we go any further into what you can expect next time, this is the part of the show where we call our last segment. We like to call it, as it was inspired by the Kelly and Company / Kelly and Rumia podcast. And for the longest time, it had been called Kelly and Company, or Kelly and Co. for short. We call it Last Call. All right. So in this last call, we want to talk about how aggressive the Blue Jays will be. To be honest, I don't know how aggressive they're going to be at the July 1st trade deadline. I really don't. But the one thing I will say that's going to play a factor is if the Blue Jays are going to make trades, and specifically, who are they going to be trading for? If they want to make a run at the World Series, which we know is the ultimate goal. As baseball fans, we know every team wants to win the World Series. Not a lot of teams are going to do it, but that remains the ultimate goal. So before I touch on who the Blue Jays could possibly be looking at to get and maybe trade, let's take a look at the Blue Jays late July, early July to mid-July, mid-August, I should say, late July, early August, mid-August schedule. At this current time, the Toronto Blue Jays have played a number of games, as have many other clubs, but I guess the question is, who's got the power? Who has the gut instinct to put a team together and say, this is the team that is going to go all the way? In other words, who has the team that is going to go the distance? Who has the team that is going to go the distance? Now, we know everybody's played right around the same amount of number of games. Some have played more than others heading into the All-Star break. But the Blue Jays will open up the second half of the season with a long road trip, including 4 games against the Orioles and 4 games against the Tigers, and a 6-game homestand in which they will face the San Francisco Giants and the New York Yankees. We do know at this time, who the Blue Jay probable pitchers will be, and I'm going to run down for you the Giants' probable pitchers in the series. The Blue Jays will start the second half of the series with Chris Bassett going to the mound against the Giants in the opener. And keep in mind, the record for the Giants at the All-Star break was 52-45. The Blue Jays, 55-41. That was their record heading into the All-Star break. On to the next game. The next game is a 3:07 p.m. start, and the Blue Jays will be sending to the mound Eric Lauer. Eric Lauer is going to get the start for the Blue Jays. At this point, if the Giants lose that game on Friday, they would be 52-46, and the Blue Jays would be 56-41 going into that game. Blue Jays win that game, well, they go to 57-41, and the Giants going into Sunday would be 50-47, and if they lose to the Blue Jays in the finale, they would be 52-48, and the Jays would be 58-41, if that checks out, and I think it does. If the Giants were to lose all 3 games, given they are currently at 52-45, a loss Friday would put them at 52-46, a loss Saturday would put them at 53-46 if they win on Friday. If they lose on Friday, it would be, if they lose Saturday, it would go from 52-46 to 52-47. And if they lose on Sunday, it would go to 52-48. And the Blue Jays would be, they are 51-41 right now. They would go to 56-41 with a win on Friday. A win on Saturday would make them 57-41, and a win on Sunday would make them, going into the Yankees series Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, a record of 58-41 going into that series. Who is the starter for that Sunday game? The probable starter is Jose Barrios. Eric Lauer, and Chris Bassett going to the hill for the Blue Jays in the Giants series. Kevin Gausman gets the go-ahead in game number 1 against the Yankees when the Yankees come to town on Monday. Night 2 belongs to Max Scherzer. That is Tuesday night, Looney Dogs night at the ballpark. And Wednesday night, we don't necessarily know who will be starting that game. But so far, we know the probables for the Giants series. That is Chris Bassett on Friday, Eric Lauer on Saturday, and Jose Barrios on Sunday. Kevin Gausman will get the start Monday against the Yankees. Max Scherzer goes on Tuesday. But who will get the game against the Yankees in the finale? I'm willing to bet. I don't bet money because I'm not a betting guy. But if I was, figuratively speaking, if I was a betting man, even though I'm not, I would believe if Alek Manoah is ready to go, and I know he's probably not ready to go, so I don't think he will start. But I'm willing to bet that if he keeps going well in his rehab, trying to get back to the game, I'm willing to bet Wednesday night, salsa night at the ballpark in Rogers Center, I'm willing to bet Alek Manoah is going to start that game. I'm willing to bet he will. I don't believe he will, but hey, never say never, right? Which brings us to the Detroit-Baltimore series. Those are on the road. The Blue Jays will return home in early August for a 3-game set against the Kansas City Royals before they hit the road for a 6-game set of road games where they will take on the Colorado Rockies from August 4th to August 6th, and from August 8th to August 10th, the Blue Jays will be taking on Shohei Ohtani and the Los Angeles Dodgers. And then the Cubbies come to town. It's the Cubs taking on the Blue Jays. 3 games, all 2 games, night games, Tuesday and Wednesday, Monday is the off day. Tuesday and Wednesday. And then, of course, day game Thursday. Then day game Saturday and Sunday. Night game Friday night when the Rangers are in town, the Texas Rangers. And then it's off to Pittsburgh, specifically PNC Park will be the venue for the Blue Jays and the Pirates. That will be a 6-game series, a 3-game series, I should say, against the Pirates, and a 3-game series against the Marlins. 6-game road trip after a 6-game homestand, which features the Cubs and the Texas Rangers. And then faster than you could say 6-game homestand, we got another 6-game homestand. The Minnesota Twins will be in town on August 25th, August 29th to August 31st. The Milwaukee Brewers will be in town with the off day Thursday, August 20th. And that is your August schedule and your late July August schedule. On an upcoming episode of Sports for Beginners, we will talk about the September part of the second half of the season. By then, we will have different records for the Blue Jays and other teams, but 2 notable series to keep an eye out as we inch closer to the start of August, and then, of course, coming up on September. The Cincinnati Reds will be hosting the Blue Jays for 3 games to start the month of September, and then the New York Yankees will host the Blue Jays for 3 games on September 5th, 6th. All right. So with that being said, that will just about do it for our show. The direction of this podcast also give you a home run derby recap. So a little bit more of All-Star talk from a wraparound. Definitely going to be keeping an eye on what is going on with Pittsburgh. And of course, we will take a look at where the Blue Jays stand now, more games into the season and on the way to the July 1st trade deadline. So we will see what happens before the deadline and at the deadline. The Blue Jays are in a good spot. They're in a good spot, but they absolutely need to make sure that they win the games they can, and basically just do the best they can out there. Errors have got to stop. Let's be real. Errors have got to stop. And with that said, thank you very much for joining us on Sports for Beginners. Really appreciate you being with us, whether this is your first time with us or somewhere in between. Maybe you've been listening to us since we began in 2022. Whatever the case is, thank you so much for being with us. Really, really appreciate it. And until next time, my name is Scott McGregor, and this has been Weekly Sports for Beginners, I should say. This has been Sports for Beginners. Thank you so much for listening to Sports for Beginners. If you would like to learn more about the show, you can visit the podcast Facebook page or visit the official website. You can also send us an email at sportsforbeginnerspodcast8231@gmail.com. As we always remind you, it is not goodbye, it is until next time.